Hello and welcome to Womb Magic with Heidi Summers and Mandee Elam of Heart Over Ego Radio. Hi, Mandee. How are you doing today?
I'm doing all right. For since it is womb magic, I feel comfortable talking about it. I just started my moon cycle, which is a period, last night. So I have a little bit of like sassiness and spite and some like, hints of irritation, but I think that's pretty normal, and I really kind of honor when my wild woman wants to come out and be a little saucy and spicy. So I'm just feeling a little bit like, not my usual Mandee self, but still good overall.
Life happens, right? Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. I love the sassy. I always love when I have those moments because, it just reminds me of the flux and the flow and the coming in and drawing out of the tides. So happy you're here today.
Thanks. I think it's important, especially, we as women, we're cyclical and, we don't have to be the same every day. And it's something we were really, taught and conditioned to, be a good girl and, do your best and mind your manners and don't say anything that, might upset someone or this or that. And of course, there's healthy boundaries around that. But for me, it's kind of fun because my overall normal is usually really uplifting and happy and jovial and not much gets to me. So when my wild woman kind of comes in and I get a little I like to hiss, like is kind of how I feel. I like to honor it because, I'm a human too and I don't always have to, be who I usually am. I can always incorporate these little pieces of my hormones and personality and just honor it as opposed to judge it.
I love that. That makes me think of a topic we kind of were looking at talking about today, which is hormonal birth control pills, or hormonal birth control in general. And I think one of the primary reasons that, there's many reasons women choose to get on the pill or, do any type of contraceptive that alters their hormones is because of those, the mood swings that can happen with, the wild woman emerging during your kind of PMS, bitchy time of the month. And society, as well as medicine, Western medicine often tends to put a label on it that, oh, you're having severe mood swings, this isn't normal, it needs to be controlled. Rather than honored, kind of like you're talking about.
And I love what you said, like, it is normal. It's normal for us. If we watch the moon every month, it waxes and wanes. It gets bigger and smaller. It absorbs and then it releases. And we need to do the same things too. And, say you're working through your day and something kind of triggers you or something happens, and you might not be able to give it its full attention at that time. You can count on your moon cycle to help you release some of that stuff. And even if it's subconscious at that point, there's a reason we have this release. And there's a reason that, we have to, in order to be balanced, we have to feel the kind of spectrum of emotions. And you can't always go around being happy or saying things don't bother us or, oh, no, it's just fine. I'm okay. When really there are things sometimes, we're all human that irritate us and upset us or, don't make us feel the best. And it's very important that we release that. And I think that comes out a lot, when women are PMSing or right as they start to bleed. I'm just starting, so I usually continue my kind of PMS type symptoms until the second day of my cycle. And then I start to feel a little bit more relief and like, oh, okay, this is starting to release and I feel a lot better. And I used to judge myself so hard for it, like, oh, I'm a bad person or I'm not a good woman or this or that because I got a little bitchy or persnickety or, had some emotions come out. And now I just really embrace it and honor it because it's really important. And, a lot of women, like we were talking about with the birth control, they do feel these things even when they're on birth control, but more so when they're off often. And so I think even regardless of if you choose to be on birth control or not on birth control at this time, I think it's really important to honor the emotions that are coming up naturally for you.
I love that. And there's two things that kind of came up for me when you were talking. One is like holding the tension, sort of being inside of that discomfort, allowing yourself to be with the discomfort that comes with the PMS and even moving into your bleed is oftentimes we want to like medicate or get rid of the uncomfortable feelings that are causing these, the wild woman to emerge. And so what I like to do is just kind of allow myself to sit there and close my eyes if I can, if I'm at home or I have a moment, just take a breath and say, okay, what really is this? And 9 out of 10 times it's like, oh, well, you need to, take better care of yourself, or you need to, like take a bath or go for a walk, get outside. You haven't been outside all day. So I encourage women to, whether you are on the pill or you're not, when those intense kind of waves of sensation, whether it be emotional or physical, arise, drop in and ask, what is this really, and what do I need, what can I do, and how can I allow myself to be with it without judging it, which definitely takes time and practice.
It does.
Yeah, and the other thing, what was the other thing?
Probably something about hormones or birth control.
Yeah, it was. I'm sure I'll come back to it if I remember.
It'll float back up. Always does.
Yeah, exactly. But with the hormonal birth control, I think that I know what I was going to say. So Christiane Northrup, I love quoting her and talking about her. She wrote the book Women's Bodies, Women's Wisdom, I believe. And she was an OB-GYN and kind of stepped into the realm of spirituality and started writing about women's bodies and how we can access our innate power through, loving and being within our physical experience. And one thing she talked about in a course I took with her was that there is a time to be on, there may be a time in your life where you are on contraceptive and that works best for you. And I know I've had seasons in my life where that did serve me and it served a purpose. At this time, I don't feel that the hormonal birth control serves me being inside of my cycle in the most authentic way. But that's not to say that you can't form, as you were saying, Mandee, can't form some relationship and honor what's rising within you, even if you are on birth control. But just note that when you do take hormonal birth control, it does affect your hormones to the extent that you're more often in your first part of your cycle where you have like the maiden and the mother, you're more outgoing, tend to be a little bit more positive. Those surges of hormones are going to be more consistent throughout your cycle rather than if you were off the birth control. So, for example, in a quote-unquote normal cycle, you would have 2 tick-ups in testosterone throughout your cycle. In hormonal birth control, that only happens once. And testosterone is interesting because it's been shown in studies to boost our desire for sex more than any other hormone we experience. So not only do we have an uptick of testosterone when we have sex, which makes us want more sex, but if we do take hormonal birth control, that's why sometimes you might experience, I don't want to have sex as much. So just things to be aware of, because I feel that we often don't talk about what are the real ramifications outside of making my life more convenient, because we do live in a society that often looks at convenience first. There's fast food, there's everything, quick, right around the corner, Amazon Prime shipping,
instant
which I love. Exactly. So how can you just make an awareness around it? I don't encourage anyone to make rash decisions ever about their body or what's right for them, but just start to build an awareness and build a deeper relationship with your body where you're at and see what comes up is true for you and just start to notice.
I love that. I love that. And it's so important. A lot of women, I had a client this week who had gone off birth control for about 3 years, and she's in a new relationship. So she went back on birth control so that she didn't have to worry about it. And she's like, I'm a nut. I'm a mad woman. I feel awful. Like, I feel a huge difference. I feel like my body really liked not having birth control. She's like, and going off of it, it took about a year and a half to 2 years before her cycle really came back fully and regularly. And then the past year, but she also said she was about, I think she was close to my age, she's in her early 30s, and she'd been on birth control since high school. So she's like, she's like over a decade, probably like 15 years. I'm like, so that makes sense to me that it would take your body in about a year and a half to 2 years to really recalibrate after that. She's like, but the past year I felt so amazing and clear and like clean and in touch with myself, and like it felt much better. And I didn't even realize when I went back on birth control. She's like, I didn't even think about how much it would mess with me. And it really has. She's like, now I'm really considering, doing something different. And kind of the same thing you were just talking about, Heidi. I kind of said to her, sit with it, decide, sit within your heart and your womb space, talk to your doctor, talk to whoever you need to talk to, and like come to this decision on your own. For me, birth control wreaked havoc. The first one I ever did, I was like 17 or 18, and I did the Depo-Provera shot. And so I didn't even go for the pill form. I went straight for the shot because that was new and exciting, and then you didn't have to worry about anything. But I gained about 45 pounds in 6 weeks. My cycle was crazy. I felt awful. It really messed me up. And then I switched to like pill form, and then I'd gone between different types of pills. But I've been off birth control myself now about 4 years, and I don't think I could go back just because I'm so in tune now. And, my partner and I now use more like the rhythm method. And, of course, all the science people are like, well, that's not safe, but the only thing that's 100% safe is abstinence. So, it doesn't matter. I hear about women getting pregnant on birth control all the time. And I feel, and as I've sat with more, women in circle and some high priestesses and some healers and some different people, they really can feel their ovulation. They feel when they're fertile. They take protective, measures at that time, or refrain from sex at that time. And like, I know a lot of couples who are not on birth control and have not had any unexpected or unplanned pregnancies. And then a lot who did choose like, oh, it's time for us to like have a baby. Let's start working on that. And even some of them had to try a little harder. They're like, oh, I thought it'd be easier because I'm not on birth control and there's no barriers, but it like took some time. So I think it's really important to realize and just know that you can make all of these decisions. And, I just hope for women to not operate from fear, and fear of getting pregnant. And I think the fear of getting pregnant is what has kept women so unattuned to their body at times, because we're so afraid of that. And if we have a baby, that might take all of our power away, or our career plan, or what we thought we had planned, and then the more I work with people and clients and different things, I've really come to realize, all babies are divine, all souls are divine. And if you're meant to be here, you're going to be here. And it's funny, I was at a women's conference about a year ago or so, a little over a year ago, and I said that, and it was not received well. And I was like, all babies are divine. And they're like, I don't think so. Like, and, teenage mothers could avoid it, or this person could avoid it, or that person could avoid it. And I'm like, well, yeah. I'm like, but there's also this kind of divine plan going on. And, if this experience happens, I would never, ever tell a soul you were an accident and you weren't meant to be here, because I know that your soul chose to incarnate and picked that vessel or that opportunity to learn things. So, learning around all of that has given me a lot more freedom around it, and just saying, okay, you know what? I trust in myself. I trust in the universe, and I trust that what will be, what will be. I will certainly be smart about it. I will do my best. If this is not what I'm inviting right now is to have a baby, then I'm going to follow my, moon cycle, and I'm going to put in some barriers to make sure that that doesn't happen, whether it's using a condom, and there's other options, or just, abstaining from sex at that time. But I don't know, I just went off on a little bit of a tangent there, because there's just so much that goes into it. And it's just such an important and intimate thing to really think about, monitoring your cycle and choosing whether or not you want to participate with birth control.
Right. I love that. It also, as you were how a being comes into being. And, when the sperm goes to implant in an egg, the egg doesn't just receive the sperm automatically. The egg sits and waits and chooses selectively, much like women. We can be very selective about, who we choose as our partner and our career and, all kinds of things. But as you were saying, like, if a soul is meant to be here, it will be here and it will arrive. And it almost feels the process of the egg choosing which sperm is the most viable or the most, the best optimal pairing. It feels as if the egg holds this consciousness a little bit of just an awareness of this is what I want. And then, whether it goes on to create a child a soul that comes into being, or it goes on a different journey, that journey is still meant for something and is always part of, our lessons that we can learn here in this timeline. So I love everything you were saying. My experience with birth control was, I guess, very brief in terms of how long some people take birth control. I took it for probably 4 years total, and that was the pill, and then I got an IUD not too long ago. And just recently, actually, a few months ago, I got my IUD taken out because of the fear that I had. The intention that I got it inserted with was I don't want to get pregnant. And it built this whole fear-based system around my womb space. And so it's important, I think, to be really mindful about the intentions you go in with in anything that you do, because that intention creates like a portal of power, and the energy with which you create that intention and that reasoning for why you're doing anything will only build from there. So for me, I was trying to, over this last year, I really looked at starting to build a deeper relationship with my womb space, with my inner power, goddess, witch, priestess, all the things. Mm-hmm. And when you're trying to connect with feminine power from inside, the womb space is the best place, in my opinion, to access. And so I remember going within and trying to ask my body questions, and it was as if my womb was telling me, like, this is not for you, about the IUD. And so I wasn't getting as many intuitive downloads or as much support from my feminine side as I would have liked, because I still had the IUD. So for me, it was a hindrance to increasing my power and my presence here, my ability to lead women even. And so that was one of it felt as if it was like the last attachment to fear that was within me. So it had built this fearful presence inside of me. And upon release, it brought a lot of like past life memories, automatic spontaneous healing. It was really insane. So I encourage everyone to just be mindful about the intentions you set, because intentions create portals which create life, whether it be positive or negative. And anything you set intention around will bring about this kind of sacred presence to it, and that energy will circle back around to you.
Oh, that's so beautiful. I love what you said, that intentions create portals, because they truly do. And, I often think about, as we were talking about, the egg choosing, this is the first time I really thought about that, but it makes complete sense to me that the egg would have that consciousness and that, that divine wisdom about it, and we are carried, in our grandmother's womb when she's born, because women are born with all of the eggs that they'll ever have in their lifetime. And so as we're developing, we are born with that. and they develop more, I'm sure, as we grow. I don't think I've seen a study in like specifically how, eggs develop within women as they grow, but I do know that they're there when you're born. And it's just very, very wisdomatic, beautiful, and something to think about of the egg choosing and its consciousness around that. And it makes sense to me. And then yesterday I was on the beach walking with my mom, and my mom was upset. She was like, "Oh no." And I'm like, "What?" And there was this like big, beautiful black crow that was like soaring by, and it had an egg in its mouth. And I was like, "Oh, I know, that's the worst. Natural selection, right?" And she's like, "It really is." And she's like, "I just feel so bad because it's not in its nest." I'm like, "I know." And so we were just like, and then just kind of honored the process because, that is life and that is part of it. And I've got this little baby duck family outside my house, and we started with 10 and now there's 8. And I'm like, "Oh no, the ducks," and I'm attaching and getting upset to it. And there's just so much more at play than we can possibly imagine.
I love that. Wow, that's beautiful. Thanks for sharing.
Of course.
That makes me think of yesterday I was walking down the street near where I work, and there was a fallen baby bird, and even though, was it this last week as well, I saw a bee that was no longer living here, floating in a pool. And so I had Edward, my partner, scoop the bee out of the pool, and we created a little burial and kind of intention setting, giving the bee back to the earth and honoring its existence and what it did here. And it was really beautiful. And we offered it some sprigs of grass and flowers that we had found. So yeah, you never know what the process is actually going to look like. But
thank you guys for doing that. I appreciate that. I'm like that weirdo who saves bugs in the pool from drowning all the time.
I know. I was just sad we didn't get there in time. I was like, I love the bees. And if you heard our last show, like, the bees are so important to me right now, and so important to all of us, really. And yeah, I like had a little moment. It was as if my 5-year-old self emerged, and she was just like crying and with the bee, and I was like, but the bees. So yes.
I know. I think about that, and then it's funny too. Like if I see something like, I woke up a couple days ago, and there was like a big bug in my bathroom, and it's like spring, almost summertime in Florida, so all kinds of like summer bugs are like hatching and emerging and happen, and I'm seeing the ants marching along more outside and stuff like that. There's a change of season, and there was this bug, and it was this huge, almost like June bug looking thing, and it's like laying on the floor in the bathroom. I'm just waking up, like I just gotta go pee, and I'm like, oh fuck, and it's like flapping one little wing, like, and it's like slowly dying, and I'm like, shit. So I like grabbed some paper towels and put it down, and then I was like, I have to like end this like, animal suffering. Like I can't like let this live anymore. It's almost dead. I just need to like, help finish it off. And I was like, thank you so much for choosing to incarnate, and thank you for your purpose here on earth. And I hope that, me choosing to end this for you makes your transition a little easier. So I like squashed the bug, and I like felt really good about it because I'm like, I can't let this thing suffer,
Yeah.
And if I throw it outside, it's just going to suffer more, and I can't just sit there and like watch it suffer. So, you're not the only one. And, a lot of us really do care about Mother Earth and the creatures on it. And sometimes, she stops us in our tracks. Like, I'm waking up in the morning just kind of like, oh, what did I dream about last night? Like, I just have to go pee real quick. And then like, boom, as soon as I wake up, there's like a lesson there for me. And there's an opportunity to spend time and to help the earth with my best intention, Do I know for sure if me finishing killing that bug was a good thing or not in the karmic world? No, I don't know for sure. But it felt really good to me, and it felt right to help end its suffering. So you never know, and I always heard about people doing that I had a fifth grade. I love our conversations and how they just go off onto whatever. But I had
Yeah.
a fifth grade teacher, a fifth grade math teacher, and he told us about a date he went on. And he picked up his date, and she was super beautiful, and he was so excited because he'd liked this girl for a long time. And they were like on back roads somewhere driving, and someone had hit a rabbit. And then the rabbit was like suffering, and it was like very badly injured, but still alive, and it was like kind of crawling, and like it wasn't going to make it. And so they got back in the truck. He's like, get back in the truck. And then he told her to like close her eyes, and then they ran it back over so that it would pass on and wouldn't suffer anymore. And he was like, I really thought I was doing this like humane, humeric thing, like this like, humane, heroic kind of thing. He's like, and then she never talked to me again. He's like, but I would never change that decision. And it was just this really cool random moment because kids were talking about something random. Like the math teacher would usually have no place in that, or like bringing up a discussion about, running over a rabbit on a date when he was in high school or something. But it's a moment that I remember because I'm so connected to the consciousness and to the earth and to what is. So like human like stories like that where you have to decide what to do are something that, my consciousness likes to remember and pick up on. And there's always these moments for different people, and you get to be the determiner and you decide what your part is in it.
I love that. Yeah, I've definitely had those experiences before with bugs where I'm like, oh, I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
and I can't handle the suffering. So it's nice to know I'm not the only one. And like you said, you're the only one that can decide what feels right for you in that moment. And I think there's also enough, as far as the karmic world and everything, I think there's enough grace present in Mother Earth consciousness and in our experience to whether it's right or wrong is less of the problem. It's more like, did we tap in? Did we go within and ask? And are we truly doing what we feel is right, or are we doing what we feel goes against our core values? And if that changes over time and you know better, do better type thing, then you do. And I think that's a part of the growth and learning and some of the intention around being here and incarnating into a human experience is to grow and expand and learn how to make decisions that honor all living things to the best of your ability.
Beautiful. Right back to that whole intention is a portal. And like, if your intention is to end suffering, I think that would get pretty good kudos out in the non-physical world, and for me, it feels right and it feels good. And I don't feel like I would be punished. And it's been an interesting thing, we're at a really cool time here in 2019. And like, euthanasia, doctor assisted suicide is becoming legal in a lot of places, usually for people who are very chronically ill or suffering quite a bit. And I got to vote for that in Colorado, and I voted for it because I thought, if I were in that much pain or I were suffering, and with my wisdom now and as old of a soul as I am and whatnot, like I'd want the right to choose. We choose that for our animals, our dogs. People always put dogs to sleep. Not always, but often when they're starting to suffer, be in pain, or be really sick, and I've had to put dogs down. I've put 3 down in my life now. And it was the hardest thing ever, but there was a lot of peace about it. And, I could feel my dogs, being happy and being content and being glad they weren't suffering anymore, and I think that talking about death and transition and this whole circle of life is a really big, important, and potent piece of this whole womb space. So I really like the direction our conversation kind of, twisted and turned and wound into today.
Yeah, I love that, and I think it is so important to be able to choose, and we see it all the time with there's some people I know who have a family member who is terminally ill and is being kept alive with what is it called? Could you help me here?
I don't know, drugs.
the drugs, the oxygen machine, like daily surgeries. Like it's
Right.
to me that's ridiculous because you look at, okay, where am I spending my resources and what does this soul want? And am I allowing them to choose, or am I, in terms of family members, just things to think about. Am I choosing to keep them alive for my own benefit, or is it for the benefit of the soul truly? And I think that's important because with the abundance of resources we have here, especially in the States, it's nice to look at the world as, the earth in its entirety, and where can we help, where can we best use our resources, our time, our finances, our energy to raise the vibration of the planet and help humanity and all living things as a whole. So I have so much passion around this.
Here.
But yes, exactly. But yeah, I'm right there with you.
Yeah, I completely agree. Well, Heidi and I both have very full and busy days today. So we're just going to be doing a half-hour episode of Womb Magic today. And I hope that you all choose to join us again next week. And thanks for supporting us. You can follow us here on Heart Over Ego Radio on Blog Talk Radio. You can follow us online on, what is it, Heidi? Facebook.com/Womb Magic Movement.
Yeah, beautiful.
Yeah, Womb Magic Movement. And you can also follow our sister show, the Alchemy Sisters, on Facebook. Heidi, what's your website? So if people want to do one-on-one work with you, that they can contact you or find you.
Yes, they can find me at Heidi Summers, HeidiSummers.co.
Awesome. And you can find me, Mandee Elam, on alchemyascensionacademy.com or on Facebook, Mandee, Mandee, space Elam, ELAM. And Heidi, I kind of started to wrap this up because I was feeling really called to ask you to close out our show today with a little bit of light language, if you feel up to it, of course.
Yeah, beautiful. Let's do it. So I invite you, wherever you are, to take a deep breath in through the nose, out through the mouth, emptying the lungs, allowing yourself to drop into stillness. Just noticing the space around you and dropping your intention, your energy back into your body and noticing what's inside. Knowing that the portals you create in your life are always for a purpose, whether consciously or unconsciously made, and that you can always choose again to create portals that honor your highest good and honor the highest good of all. This light language is for giving yourself more kindness and allowing yourself to move forward from wherever you are with grace, dignity, and love for yourself and everyone. O Namaya Kiadoraya Hoseyaya Miyanata Horariaya Kiyoseyaya Honamiaya Tirosioeaya Mana Soraya Viakureaya Teaya Samana Tuaya Heya Tuasania Tiamana Horayana Komate Horaya Orania Homaya Kusiaya Kodara. Hasunata aya simaya. Nanata aya kuta ish. Hasayatu simatayaka. Hasamiti isha kutu samati. Allowing your mind to be open to the heart, to the womb, to the body's teachings, always and forever. And so it is, and so we let it be. Thank you so much, Mandee.
Thank you, Heidi. And so it is. Thank you to our listeners. Have a beautiful day. Bye-bye.